Welcome to the Whistleblower of the Week podcast, hosted by FBI whistleblower Jane Turner. Join her as she shares the stories of real-life heroes and people of integrity.
Hello, this is Jane Turner with Whistleblower of the Week, and I am so happy to have on Robyn Gritz. She's a former FBI agent. I followed her career and I followed her whistleblowing activities for several years. And it's a very interesting case, and she is still involved in it after 12 years, if you can believe that. She was an agent and a supervisor in the Washington field office. She worked in the Extraterritorial Counterterrorism Squad, which is rare for a woman. She cultivated extensive experience in the areas of overseas abductions, fraud, money laundering, public corruption, multinational investigations, war crimes, criminal and counterterrorism violation, and was highly successful in federal court and within the FISA process. She led the most complex terrorism, hostage, and war crime investigations within the FBI and possessed a strong background in oversight, compliance, and regulatory issues. Welcome, Robyn. And of course, the question is going to be, you did all this fabulous work, but you're no longer with the FBI.
No, I'm not. After 16 and a half years, I was forced out. So,
Yes.
16 and a half years, 3.5 years away from retirement. Pretty
Isn't
much.
that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's talk, because I always like to talk to whistleblowers about their upbringing, because as you know, whistleblowers are a rare breed. It takes courage, a conscience, and integrity to speak truth to power. And you are one of those people. So, Robyn, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you were raised, what your parents did, how you got into the FBI, and when that happened.
Okay. Well, I was raised. I have one sister. Father is a Marine. Mom was a
Oh.
stay-at-home mom. And we were always brought up that in order to sleep at night, you have to do what's right. You have to tell the truth, and you have to protect others. So I think that's why I went into law enforcement. Is I'm more of a protector and more of a protector of others than myself. So I at the detriment of myself, I might go and help someone else, which would happen in my case here, because it originally started as me not looking after myself. I was actually looking after a male agent. Yeah, he was an American agent who was also a detailee with me, and he was enduring what I ended up enduring. What the I didn't know all this until he told me that the EKGs were right, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I was a 14, he was a 15, and I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, I said, "Are you having chest pains?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, what is this for?" And he told me all about it. And basically, his problem turned into my problem because then they went after me
Instead of him?
instead of him. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well,
But
they
let's
kept after him, but they didn't go as viciously. I didn't, he didn't get removed from his position or anything like that. I
Okay,
did.
gotcha. Well, let's back up just a little bit and see when you entered the FBI.
So I was a juvenile probation officer in Camden, New
Ah,
Jersey. And awesome job. I made no money, but I was like, I really felt like I was making a difference with the juveniles and really giving them a chance to take a good path, not the path that was normal in Camden for some of the guys hanging out. So I had a lot of success there, and I decided to go for my master's degree in criminology. And
ah,
I went to St. Joseph's University, and two of my instructors were FBI agents. And they were saying, "You'd be a perfect FBI agent." I said, "Well, I really like my job. I like what I'm doing, and I'm about to get promoted. I'm taking a test." They said, "Well, just take the test for the FBI." I said, "Okay, I'll take it. I'll
oh,
do it." So I did, and I thought, "Oops, all right, hold on a second. Sorry." I thought so. I took the test, and I thought I'd failed it. And I said to my father, I said, there's nothing there, because they put all that math on there and everything,
oh
weird
yeah.
stuff. And I was like, so my father goes, "I'll bet you if you get a big envelope, then you owe me money, and if you get a small envelope, then I'll give you the money." and you'll retake the test. And I said, okay. So I was actually out when my father called me. He said, you got a big envelope. And I was like, oh. So I passed the test, and about 6 months later, after all the initial stuff was done, I passed through the interview. Right after that, it went pretty fast. But within 6 months, I was going to the FBI academy. So it went really fast. It was at the time where we just came off a hiring freeze
Yes.
under Bill Clinton, and we had 1,000 new agents go through the academy. So that's when I came through.
And what year was that, Robyn?
1997.
97.
Yes. Then I ended up in the Newark division. Was my first office, which I'm from New Jersey, so I was okay. And I
Yeah.
wanted to finish my my master's degree. So I said, well, it's close enough to Philly that I could drive down there for a couple classes a week. So I did. And I worked mostly before I got to terrorism. I worked, I'm sorry, this is falling out. Hold on just a second. So when I got to Newark, they did the usual round table. You go to different violations, and then they turned around. They assigned all of us to terrorism, and this was in '97. But it was more domestic terrorism at the time, so they were just really looking at that. I ended up being both international and domestic terrorism, and I was on that squad pretty much the entire time I was in Newark. I was the only female in the 7 years I was there on that squad that stayed
Wow.
consistently. We had
Right.
some, I say they made cameo appearances on the
Mhm.
squad, but they looked at me like, you're crazy to stay here. I'm like, well, this is my expertise now. But
Yeah.
so I worked with all guys, and it was mostly a task force. I got along with all of them. They treated me equal. I had a problem with the supervisor there who thought he wanted to date me, and I had to explain to
Oh,
him that's not the way to go. And he
that's
continued to
right.
badger me. So I don't know who was, someone else filed something against him. Um, but anyway, so that was there, and I was there for 7 years. I ended up actually in the Trenton RA because we had the whole state, so we needed someone to work the southern part of the state, which I did. Then I got promoted to a supervisor position in 2004 at Counterterrorism Division, International Terrorism Operations Section 1, which was the one I wanted. And because I'm probably, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I wanted to be in the belly of the beast. I wanted to get
Yeah.
the real work. And I was married at the time. I had gotten married in just a few months before 9/11. So my husband was on board, and he's like, let's go. He goes, I think you need to go in the belly of the beast. He said that to me. He's like, you need to get it out of your system. But he didn't realize I was like creating a monster because
Right.
we got really awesome cases. So I was a GS 14. I did put in for 15 positions there, and I ended up getting one with inspection division as an assistant inspector. And at the same time, my husband didn't have to quit his job; that he'd already quit one job to come down there with me. And I did that for a year. I was a GS 15 assistant inspector, but on most of my inspections, I was a team leader. I also did conduct a couple OPRs, and because you have to. And I mean, there were times where I was like, "There's nothing wrong here," and they're like, "No, you got to find something. You got to find something." And I did an inspection in Miami. I'll never forget this, and the squad did phenomenal. Everyone on the squad did phenomenal, but they had failed the inspection before. But I sat there and I said, I find no findings and no recommendations. These guys they're blowing it out of the water. I mean, they're dotting their i's and crossing their t's, and and I was getting yelled at until the assistant inspector who was over inspection at the time. I can't remember his name, but he said, wait, you're telling me they're doing everything right? And I
Mhm.
said, yes. And you can not I said, "Yes, there's nothing I can write him on." He goes, "Good
Right.
job." That's what we all wanna see, and he said, "I don't understand why everyone's yelling at her that she has to find something. We have
Right.
a squad here of good people that are doing their job." So that was my time in inspection. I got
Robyn, I need to point out for the audience
yeah.
that when you talk about the belly of the beast, you're talking about Washington, D.C. You obviously went back to headquarters, FBI HQ.
Yes, yes,
Okay, so you were there in New Jersey. You put in for a spot back in FBI
yeah,
HQ. You got it.
yeah.
I'm sure it was over other people. They picked you, and so you got into terrorism, which hot topic
Very
there,
hot, yeah, at
very
that time.
hot. So you're doing great. You're out in inspection, which is kind of the management path
Yeah,
that everybody wants to see you take before they send you out as an ASAC or an
yeah.
SAC or a supervisor. So here you are just flaming along.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
a lot of it was, I was married, I was like, "Hey, I don't wanna move him right now." He just got a really
right.
good job, and, but so, yeah, I went down there, and then I wasn't sure I ever wanted to put in to become an ASAC, to be honest with you. I liked being more operational, so I eventually figured I probably would go back down to the field and just finish my years out, especially after I was getting, what happened to me. But, so I went to Washington Field after that, and I was selected over 26 people for that
So you
position.
went out from FBI HQ and
Yep,
put in for a spot at WFO, which is Washington Field Office.
yep.
You took on 26 people and you got the spot.
Yeah, and this people have to understand, if you aren't in the FBI, this is really a coveted
Hmm.
spot.
Hmm.
Most of the people that have held that spot have gone up to be, like deputy director or
Oh, yeah.
something up there. I did it. I put in for a couple jobs at Washington Field. One was intelligence, and one was this squad. So when the SAC called me and said, you got this job. And I said, when do I report to the field intelligence group? He goes, no, 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 you got the extraterritorial. And I got real quiet because he had been my section chief as well. And I said, so how did I get that? He goes, you were like the only one that didn't have people calling on your behalf, but they did call. You didn't direct them to. He goes, it's your work
Oh,
ethic, Robyn. You know what you're doing, your experience, you know how to handle things. It's your work ethic. And
okay.
that felt great. I mean,
Yeah.
he ended up becoming my assistant director later on.
Okay.
But so I was there. It's really 24/7. Anything that
Hmm.
blows up overseas in our jurisdiction, anyone that gets beheaded, abducted, threatened, bombings, you name it, we deploy to. My squad deploys to. So they were they are the cream of the crop. They were
Yes.
phenomenal. I mean, they were the most fun people to work with and the most talented. I saw huge cases. Chucky Taylor's one of them that I supervised. That was Chucky Taylor is the son of Charles Taylor, who was a war criminal out of Liberia. He was the
Oh,
president of
yeah.
Liberia. And Chucky Taylor actually, we used a statute that was never used on, he was considered a U.S. citizen because he had dual, and
Hmm.
he committed the war crimes overseas, but he came back here and it was on a U.S. citizen. But there was a statute that was used, and I can't remember which statute it was, but never been used before. Never been used. We had many cases like that, using statutes and using stuff that had never been used to fight terror. And these were people like we had witnesses. We had one guy that was videotaping himself doing bombings. I mean, you know,
Wow.
so you have like we're going after we're not going after low hanging fruit. We're going after the ones that are actually bomb
Right.
throwers, people that abduct and behead. We're going after them.
Right.
We're not going after someone for using their bureau issued phone to call their parents like the bureau would
Right.
do.
Right.
We're,
Right.
we're we're going after some real things. So after that, I got promoted to a GS-15 at
Hmm.
WMD, and I was over the executive strategy unit. And my secondary also, I was also the special assistant to the deputy assistant director, who
Okay.
was who
Pretty
was a
high.
female, a
Yeah.
female.
Pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
high position. Are you still at, are you at WFO, Washington Field Office, or did
now
they send you to headquarters again?
I put in and got promoted to a 15
Okay. So
and
now
got that.
you're 15, which is an executive
Yes.
and a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and I led the strategy planning for the whole,
Hmm.
the directorate, and we published the first 5-year strategic plan. And then I briefed all the budget meetings with, which usually is like 8 hours long, but I just
Yeah.
tied everything we were asking for to that strategic plan. And we were I think we were the only division that didn't get their budget cut that year. So then they had
Wow.
me do it the next year. Same thing happened. It was phenomenal. I mean, and plus we had an assistant director that was from the professional world, but his WMD was his specialty, and he was just thinking. He thought like a corporate. He was thinking, "Hey, let's do
Right.
this. Let's try that." So I
So
was
it's
there.
highly successful,
Yeah,
and your career is just taking off, and
yeah.
so everything's fine. What
And I'm
happened?
also back chairing Deputy Director John Pistol at the White House on hostage
Okay.
cases,
Wow.
which started some friction between myself. Uh, there was the agent that had the squad before me at Washington Field, but now was going back as an ASAC. So him and I, we were at odds for some weird reason. I don't know. He just would badmouth me. But I found out he was actually Andy McCabe's law school roommate and best friend for like 30 something years. So that made sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andy McCabe now plays into your story a
Yes.
little further down the road here. We
Actually,
don't want
you
to
know
get
what?
people confused. Or do you want to
Yeah.
bring him in right now? Because
you know
people
what?
have heard this name, Andy McCabe.
Yeah, and I should go back before went to WMD. I had one individual that was my ESAC, but he was only there for a short time because he got promoted to an SES. And in came Andy McCabe, was my assistant special agent in charge at Washington Field.
Let's explain what an SES is.
Okay, it is a senior rank. It's a senior rank that they have up there to kind of coincide with the military's general, brigadier general.
High level in
high
the
level.
Bureau.
That's up there.
High level.
Yes.
Okay, so here you're going. I mean, jet streams are coming out of your body.
And I didn't see it that way. I just wanted to be a leader,
flaming. Yeah, you're blue flaming in the Bureau.
Yeah.
Let's call it like it is. You're a blue flamer.
But I didn't go to headquarters until after 8 years. So I did. They tried to get me to come sooner. And I said, I'd rather have a really, really big case and really get some more experience before I come to headquarters.
Good for you.
So I did. And then it was like a few years later, this is how I knew I had to go to headquarters. I was sitting at the table in my squad area and everyone was relatively a newer agent, but they already knew what they were doing. And I said, I think my work is done here. I need to, branch out. So, So at Washington Field, Andy McCabe was my boss. He was my assistant special agent in charge. We actually did get along. When I actually was getting divorced, unfortunately, he was the first person outside of my family I told him, because he was my boss. And I went in there, I cried on his shoulder. He was really awesome. He was just like, give me advice and everything. And then I left there. Like I said, Carl Goddess came in. That's his friend. After Andy left as the assistant special agent in charge over me. And the first day he was there, out of 12 people in the branch of supervisors, and I was the only female. And he goes, Robyn, I want last 4 iterations of all your file reviews for all your agents on my desk by 4:00 today. And one of the other agents just goes, wait a second. Are you only asking it from Robyn, or are you asking it from all of us? And he goes, no, only Robyn. And the agent goes, let me ask that again. The one and only female supervisor you have, and this is a male agent, only female supervisor you have in here, you're asking her for something, but that you're not asking us for.
Right.
That he goes, not a good look. That attorney had been an employment attorney before he got into the Bureau. So he just looked at me and I was like, ugh. So then I knew that was my that was his first day in WFO, my last day. Because I went up there at 4:00, all my stuff, because I was squared away. So he had gone for the day. So I kind of just pushed a chair full of files into his office and I left, packed up my stuff. My SAC had given me permission to report to WMD, and I left. And and that's a lot because of what was done that one day. I saw the writing on the wall. So when I went over to WMD, like I said, the assistant director was a corporate guy who came from the outside. And I told him, he said, what happened with the moving so fast over here? And I told him what happened. And he said, yeah, we won't let that happen to you here.
Yeah, good.
And he wouldn't, because he knew better. He was a professional. He was a strong individual. So he knew that he had confidence in himself. Let's put it that way. So I worked there for 2 years. I was still at the beginning back chairing for the White House with Pistol and with then I was also meeting with John Brennan. I was on the National Security Council's Hostage and Personnel Recovery Working Group, which is made up of representatives from all over the government, and it's all focused on bringing hostages back. And I was told by my deputy director, they like having you here. You brief well. He goes, and I like the way you brief, so I'll keep you. At this point, I was starting to get bad mouthing going on behind my back. Why did he choose her? What's this? She needs to be pulled from this. And they had me, the individual at Washington Field had me X'd out of the account that I needed to look at in order to back brief the deputy director at the White House. What the hell? So I reached out to Mr. Pistol, the deputy director, I told him what happened. He says, and he just sternly said, "I will take care of this. I'll see you at
Mm-hmm.
3." He was just like, "I'll
Yeah.
see you at 3." And then he was like, "Who is this person telling me who I should be bringing as my back chair? In front of my name, it says deputy director."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he said to me, he goes, "Are you able to take the heat that this might bring?" Because he knew they were going to still come after me. And I said, "Yes,
Right.
as long as I have top cover." And he said, "Okay, I have you." Unfortunately, he retired, and that's when a lot of
Ah.
stuff was going down. So I was in WMD for 2 years, and then I saw an opportunity to go as a detailee to the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't talk about what I was working there, but I knew from my time of watching buildings come down in front of me on 9/11 that I would be part of the whole of government approach to stopping terrorist attacks against U.S. citizens and interests and everything. And
Right.
and it really was awesome. I mean, I was only
Yeah.
there probably 4 or 5 months, but I mean, the people I was working for, the deputy chief said, "We've never given anyone access to some of our databases that are shared with other people, and but we're going to give you full access because they
Yeah.
trusted me. They'd never done that with a detailee in my department.
Right.
So they had me. When you go over as a joint duty detailee to the CIA or to any agency, your position and everything is um, governed by Office of Director of National Intelligence, and that's really
Yes.
important to this case, my case. Um, you are the property of the gaining agency. So they do your performance appraisal. They do any kind of tasking time. They tell you your hours that you're going to work because
Right.
sometimes they work at night, then they come back, or they just, they work odd hours. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're also the ones they do your performance appraisal. Any issues that you have, they bring it up. And you're supposed to attend their meetings.
Yeah.
You're supposed to fully assimilate. So you understand this.
I do. I
How
do.
hard
But
was it
I want
for
to.
anyone else to understand this?
Right.
Not
I want the audience to understand also.
Yeah.
You're holding a very high position. You're working with people who are notable in the public. We've heard their names,
Mhm.
and you're part of history. You've
Yes,
got the
yes.
bombing, okay, of the World Trade Center, and so you're actually part of history, working at the upper levels of what the FBI does.
Mhm.
And so you also are running into people sabotaging you
Yes,
behind your back.
yes.
And for our audience, we have to point out that this is not rare in the
No,
FBI.
no.
This is not rare at all. It's very, very tough
Yes.
because, and I speak out of my experience, um, when I was told no woman will ever work Indian country, and that's why I took my position, is because I said, yes, there will be, and it will be me. And I did. And from the day I walked in there, there was male agents who actively were
Yeah.
trying to subvert the good work I was doing. And it's those agents we should point out to people who feel threatened by the
Yes,
fact
yes.
women not only are doing a job that they covet, but are can do it 50 times better than they can.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where you get the jealousy, the sabotage, and
Mhm.
it's important people realize that because, of course, the question you always get asked is, well, why would they do that? It's as simple as jealousy. It's a power thing. It's
It's
a
sociopaths.
gender issue.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
sociopaths.
we
Y
do have them in the bureau.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the great people, and there's some real sociopaths. So
yeah.
here you are, and people are subverting you behind your back. And what happened?
So I go over to I'm working at the agency, and um, someone from the agency comes to me and says, "Hey,
Okay.
why are these 2 guys that you work with coming over and asking about your performance and if we're
Mm,
happy and stuff like that?" And I'm like, "What?" And they said, he goes, "Yeah, I thought you should know about this."
yep.
Um, and we are putting together, he said this, we're putting together a white paper in support of your performance. And we will give that to you first and then give it to them. And then he said, if we align your duties correctly, we'll get more bang for our buck. Um, and he sent me an email that said, in your short time here, you have already produced more than your predecessor who was here 18 months. I was there four
Yeah,
months.
there it is.
Yep. And so So I was like, okay, I'm doing well, but then why are they asking?
Mhm.
So these agents were like, well, not agents, they were officers. They said, we'll keep an eye out, we'll let you know.
Mhm.
And it progressed really fast for some reason. Well, I knew they were mad that I wasn't going to an FBI meeting in the morning. They call that insubordination. I specifically,
Insubordination.
yeah,
Insubordination.
even
Yeah.
though according to policy, I'm supposed to attend agency meetings, not FBI meetings.
Right.
And I want to explain to the audience that my position comes out of the intelligence failures from 9/11,
Mhm.
and the way I was being treated by the FBI as a detailee was the same way they were being treated back before 9/11. They were
Right.
being told to do FBI stuff. The, the individuals I worked with at the agency said, "You're not like the other ones that are like moles here. They're not doing
Right.
anything for us. They're doing everything for the bureau." And I said,
Right.
"Well, they said that's not how joint duty detailing works." So
Correct.
it also was brought to my attention by one of their Office of Government Counsel attorneys. Said, "Someone asked me about you," and I told them, "You're phenomenal." And so they all gave me their names and their home phone numbers and said, "We would like to talk to whomever wants to talk to us. This is not something we normally do," because, they're undercover. So I said, "Okay, I'll take that list." And I gave it to my deputy assistant director at the time. And I continued about my work.
Mhm.
Disrupted a huge plot to bomb something. 2 weeks later, I was being pulled out of my position. And I was like, what the hell's going on? Well, I should also point out some of the other instances. There's so many instances. I can just give you a few examples of what was happening to me. One of the
Right.
guys that was the SES that was over us got TDY'd to uh, be an SAC somewhere, acting SAC. So he
Mhm.
put the other 15 up to the acting SES. And I was like, okay, I've
Mhm.
been to headquarters for 15 now. I've already been an acting SES, but yeah,
Mhm.
this is par for the course, in the bureau. So I was like, okay, well, that sucks, and I should have been one of the considered. But
Mhm.
that guy ended up, I don't know what he was doing. He told me that I had to put all my emails through him, all of them, because he didn't like that I copied all these other people on it, like
Sure.
legats or something. He said that he wasn't approving my travel. He wasn't approving this and that. And I said, "You have no right to
Okay.
do that.
It's okay.
Everyone else is
Robin,
traveling."
Robin, is
Y-
this the first time that you realize you have a target on your back?
When he starts this, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of felt something, but I thought, if I just do my job,
Right. They'll leave
right,
me alone.
leave
They'll
me
leave
alone.
me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. So I went to actually the SES before he left, and he denies I did this, but I sent I think it was an email out to detailees and saying I just met with our SES.
Mhm.
And I had told him, I said, "Listen, I'm getting pulled in different directions. I'm supposed to be attending agency meetings. You want me to go to 7:15?" They they don't work because I'm here at night sometimes because of things, or I have to be doing something in the morning for them, or they're saying just come in later because we're going to be here tonight.
Right.
And, so I said, operationally, according to policy, I'm supposed to be attending all their meetings.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Well, okay, make the 7 to 15s when you can." And I was
Mhm.
traveling too. Um, and I said, "Okay."
Okay.
And I left there and I sent the email to two or three other detailees, one of which ended up becoming the acting SES over us. Um,
Okay.
that's the one that was that really was targeting me. So I mean, I went to a conference down in Virginia Beach.
Mhm.
I tried to tell this acting SES guy a few times, and I finally sent him an email, and told him these are the people that are backing me up. So I come back from this really good conference that the agency asked me to go to,
Mhm.
not the bureau. And I said, "Okay, I'll do that."
Right.
And I first day in the office, I come into his office, and I was about to just say, "Hey, how's everything going?" He stands up, starts screaming at me. "You are thinking you're getting one over on me. You just went down to Virginia Beach to meet Navy SEALs." And then he
Okay.
got over me. I was sitting down and he got over me. He's like 6'5", and he's yelling at me. And I just
Mhm.
stood up and I'm like, "Back off." And he like
Wow.
ran out of his office. And I'm like, what the hell was that? So I did report that.
Wow.
I felt intimidated. I physically intimidated. I thought it was like this guy's about to hit me or something.
Yeah.
So then that happened. Then another time I went to San Diego and I had booked. I was only going for 1 day of meetings, and I booked, there and back. Um, in his statement, he says I went to San Diego and was disinvited to the following meetings the following day. It's a lie. I already had my, why is he's
Okay.
making up stuff. So this is the stuff I
Right.
was dealing with. Half this stuff I didn't know was going on until I got hold of their statements.
Right.
So push came to shove another time when he just would cut me off of meetings, and all the other, and they were male detailers. They were all male, and they were looking at me like, why does he do that to you?
Yes.
And
So
then,
you realize, Robyn, you're being targeted
yeah,
at this point.
and I wasn't
Did
the only
you?
one.
And you weren't the only one who's
There
being
was
targeted.
yeah, which I'll bring up because that's how my case started.
Okay.
Is there was an African American male detailee that I had known from working terrorism forever. He was a 14, I was a
Mm-hmm.
15. And he came over to my office. He said, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go home. I'll call you later.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. He went to the hospital because he was having chest pains and
Okay.
the EKG was normal. I didn't know this. So he calls me and he says, this is the crux of where it turns Robyn going overt and not putting up with shit anymore. To
Okay.
be honest with you.
Okay. There's
I
always
called,
something.
yeah,
Okay.
then it was this guy's well-being,
Sure.
so I call the SES that originally was supposed to be our boss over our section. He's out acting SAC, and I say, listen, you guys, I don't know what you're doing with this gentleman, but he just called me and he's having chest pains, and I said, if it's anything like you're treating me, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I said, so from now on, let's just have him report to me, and you go through me in order to,
Okay.
anything. And that's what a
Okay.
leader does. You got to protect your
Sure.
people.
Sure.
And he said, and then he was like, you just do whatever Tom says, as long as it's not illegal. You just do it. We'll have to have a talk next week. I can't talk right now. And
Okay.
I'm like, okay. So next week comes, and I call him. I say, hey, are we going to meet Friday? And he says, yeah. He goes, but I want to talk to you. I think since your divorce, you're too fragile. I don't think you're well suited for the detailee position. I think you should take a job, a lesser stressful job in, like, say, an RA. And I think that's what you should do. And I said,
Oh,
have you looked at my resume?
wow.
And I said,
You
listen,
you were going through a divorce at that time, Robyn,
no,
right?
I
No,
had
you were
gone
not going
3
through a
years
divorce.
ago, 3 years prior.
Oh, it happened 3 years prior, but he was bringing it up now.
Yeah, I had already been promoted twice since my
Since
divorce.
then, since your
But I was
divorce.
now considered fragile or weak because of my divorce.
Wow.
So he's worried about my
Wow.
well-being. I have emails where he's worried about that. He actually put down, Robyn may
Wow.
have emotional issues in my mid-year, and I had no idea what he was talking about.
The interview will continue after this brief message. Become part of the growing grassroots movement that supports whistleblowers around the world who risk their careers, financial security, friendships, and even their freedom to speak out against wrongdoing. Make a one-time gift or become a monthly donor today. Every donation makes a difference. Visit whistleblowersblog.org to give.
Okay, is this where they start ratcheting down your performance reports?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so there was this period. I mean, Fred Whitehurst from the lab, FBI whistleblower, and I have talked about this several times, that there must be a manuscript they
Yeah, there's a
used
playbook.
back at FBI HQ. We haven't discovered it yet, the actual presence of it, but we make this a theory that there is one because every single FBI whistleblower has gone through the same thing. It just is phenomenal. So there's got to be a book they go to and follow the steps on how to get rid of a whistleblower.
Yeah. People have told me this stuff, and this is going to happen next. And I'm like, Fred was one of them. Fred was one said this is going to
Yeah.
happen next, and
Yep.
it happened. I called him. I'm like, you have a crystal ball? He goes, no, happens all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone.
With the people who speak truth in the FBI.
And stand up for others too, because
stand up. Yes.
my case started out as an EEO, a discrimination and retaliation case.
Right.
And I also was standing up for that agent. And then I started seeing some wrongdoing going on and a lot of breaking of policy, especially in the, well, let me go back. So I transfer, I come to work one day. It was after that call.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, let me back up. Let me
Yeah.
just back up. I'm trying to remember how this all went. So I was on the phone with the SES, and he's saying he thinks I'm fragile from my divorce and that I should take a less stressful position and all this stuff. So and I'm sitting there like, I'm still in my mid 40s.
Well,
What the hell are you talking
Robyn,
about?
Robyn, can I tell you right now, from experience, and you realize mine occurred in 2001, and I've dealt with FBI whistleblowers ever since. He probably had a friend who wanted your job.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah.
There was only one
He
spot
had
open.
somebody. Yeah, he had somebody who was interested in your job, but unfortunately they have to get rid of you to get that job open.
Yeah, because they had a
Not
job posted.
atypical. Yeah,
They had
not atypical.
No, no, and they had a job, another 15 posted, and that's why they were giving so much stuff to this blackmail agent because he was putting in for it. And so they were telling
Yep.
him to withdraw his. They actually told him, "You're never going to get it. Withdraw. We'll never give it
Right.
to you. You know, that's messing up the details." So they started ratcheting it up at that point and making. So I wrote in. They this is what they got me. They came after me for at first was I wrote an email. There was an agent, a female agent, that every time I called her, she would yell the F word and hang up. And I just wanted some information on an op that someone was about to do, and she wasn't giving them all the information, and it puts their lives at risk outside of the
Right.
bureau. And so I wrote her an email and I said, listen, I really am trying to get hold of you, but it's unacceptable how you are yelling obscenities to me. I don't know exactly what I sent, but and Rick, sorry, back up. The SES told me that okay, you were spot on with that email, but you copied a person in the agency. I said, well, that's the person that brought it to my attention that's been fighting with this, and I wanted to let them know
Okay.
we're going to take care of it. So he says, but I have to write you up because people are pissed that you put that person on the email. I said, but
Okay.
I'm right because she's putting lives in danger.
Right.
Yeah, Robyn, you're right, but I'm gonna have to do this, and maybe
So
you
they're
shouldn't. And then he goes, maybe you shouldn't be so emotional about it.
oh, here we get back to the emotional
Yep,
thing. Yeah, which
people are gonna
is
get killed, and actually,
yeah.
they went to do the op, and they faced guns, and they had to retreat.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was
you're the
right.
emotional one, right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and as you probably realize by now, Robyn, that's another thing is giving that word. They don't give it to the male agents,
No, no.
but they use it all the time for the female agents.
And they also said I
Emotional.
giggled. That's what the one guy said when he was yelling at me. He said I was giggling at him. I'm like, I don't giggle. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Well, maybe if I'm
typical.
on a date or something, but I'm at work. I'm a serious person, and when you're yelling at me, I'm not going to be
Yeah,
giggling. I'm making sure I have my sidearm on me. Whatever the
yeah.
hell's going
This is
on.
all typical.
Yeah.
So what
So
happens? They're
so
putting the
uh
pressure on you.
so they're putting pressure on me. So, but the SES calls me and says, and he's actually still the acting SAC. He says, so we're going to
Mhm.
meet on Friday. And I said, all right, but I would like to have the ombudsman there. And he goes, well, if you take that route, I'll pull your time cards.
Ooh,
So I was like, what the hell? So I was like, oh, is that a threat?
yeah.
And then we started
Well, it
going back and
was.
forth. It was a threat.
It
And
was
I
a
knew
threat.
exactly, being in the bureau for 15 years at that time, when they say they're going to do that, they don't have anything on you, but they're going to try and
Right.
jam you up
They'll find
regardless.
yeah, they'll find it in the time cards
Yeah, yeah.
because
So
everybody knows they pad
yeah.
the time cards. Yeah, okay,
So I go
so
in on Friday, and it was the 20th of June, and
okay.
I'm still stationed at the agency, but I go in here, and it's the SES and the other 15, the acting SES, are referring me to EAP because I'm emotional. I have other
Uh-oh.
issues, and I'm not going to these meetings, so I'm tardy. And then the other thing was absenteeism. I was
Yeah,
running half marathons, and I was actually doing like two a month,
yeah,
if that, maybe more.
yeah.
And I was like, that's when I was traveling, and I would put in, like, there's no absenteeism. I used my annual leave. For working years of terrorism, you never take leave. And
Right.
now I was running these races, and they knew I was doing that.
Mhm.
But they say, absenteeism. So I'm like, okay. So then I called, I called actually when the SES first made the comment about pulling my time cards. That's when I called an EEO counselor in WMD that I knew, and he didn't respond because it was kind of late. So I sent a message out to a few different EEO counselors that I need to talk to someone as soon as possible.
Right.
Luckily, the one from WMD called me the next day, and I told him what happened. He said, Robyn, I'm overloaded, but I'll take this case if you want me to, because he knew me.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
said, well, if you can help me just get an appointment with someone. And it
Yeah.
took like 3 weeks to finally get in with someone, but I was still counted on the 15th as notifying EEO.
Sure.
So I put that in the EEO, and within a week and a half,
Yeah.
um, I have chest pains. So I
Yeah.
go to the hospital, and the cardiologist says to me, "Whatever you're going through right now, you need to get out of it because this is no joke.
Right.
This is a shot across the bow for you."
Right.
And then a week later, I believe it was about a week later. Oh, and by the way, when I was in the hospital, I was getting harassed by the guy that was the acting SES. Why aren't you here? I don't see you in the office. I said, I don't want to put my medical stuff
Yeah.
over this. He was badgering me.
Yeah.
So about a week after that, I get called into my deputy assistant director's office, and she says, "For your well-being, Andy and I have decided to pull you back to counterterrorism division." And I was just like, at first, I'm like, you know
Okay.
what?
Now she mentioned Andy, and that must be Andy McCabe.
Yes. She admitted to me she was supposed to meet with me the day before, but she was with Andy McCabe discussing what they were going to do about me. And she said, "For
Okay.
your well-being, I want to pull you out." That's a lie, because in her statement, it's the exact opposite.
Okay. So people know Andy McCabe because, of course, he was involved in some of the bad publicity the Bureau got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe you can give a little bit more about him. But he was your acting supervisor on a very high level.
Actually, at that time, he became the assistant director.
Okay, so he was assistant director at
Yeah, he
that
was the
time.
assistant director.
And he
I
was
went,
passing judgment on you
yes,
and your ability to continue.
yeah,
Gotcha.
and he knew that I could do the job because he was my ASAC, my assistant special agent in charge in
He had worked
WFO.
with you before. He'd
Yeah,
worked with you before and knew you were qualified.
yeah. So he just basically told me, you just deal with it with your DAD, because I tried getting in touch with him, and so I was like, okay, that's how it's going to go. I became aware that actually he just was going to back them.
Mhm.
And I knew that because, and you can, sometimes I feel like, am I wrong? But I
Mhm.
was at it back at counterterrorism division outside of my detailee position for 3 months. Um, and they allowed, and I already had by this time signed a formal EEO complaint against these guys.
Mhm.
Um, they allowed that SES to do my performance appraisal when I had
The one you
a,
accused. The one
yeah,
you accused. Yeah.
yeah.
Typical. Yeah.
After 30 days, I hadn't worked for him.
Mhm.
Technically, again, my PAR is supposed to be done by the gaining agency and then by whoever I'm reporting to now, not him.
Mhm. Right.
So he failed me first time in 16 and a half years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're trying to say that we didn't take away any pay from her. Yeah, I didn't get my within grade increase, my raise the following year. I didn't get it. So,
Right.
and I was pulled out of my position. Well, as I was there in counterterrorism division, they just put me in like an admin unit, and you're taking a GS-15 extremely active terrorism supervisor,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you're just going to have her sitting there. And they gave me
Right.
like little assignments here and there, but for the most part, I mean, I
Yeah.
was just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. And then the they I found out in July. No, that was June when I first made the report to
Tell us what year, Robin.
okay, it was 2012.
Okay,
So
2012.
July 15th, I made the call to EEO, and then when I met with them, they did the internal investigation, and then we went to formal. Well, while they were doing the investigation, I get
Mhm.
notified. This is about a month after I got pulled back from my detailing position, and a month after the EAP referral,
Sure.
I get notified that I have an OPR, internal investigation against me, and it's filed by
Yeah.
those two guys, signed off by Andy
Yep.
McCabe, and um, it's the same exact
Typical.
thing they put in the
Yeah.
EAP. I mean,
Yeah.
how can
Typical.
I don't understand how they just get away with it.
Yeah.
They get away with that. So while I was trying to gather stuff for my EEO, I'm also having to do my OPR, and I have an OPR, well, inspection SS supervisory special agent who's doing the investigation, who is telling me I can't ask questions about my case. I can't do this. I can't do that. I said, I have an EEO. I don't really
Mhm.
care. We don't want to talk about that. I said, well,
Yeah,
you
they don't
should
care.
talk about it. This is,
Yeah, they don't care.
I kept saying, this is retaliation.
Mhm.
and that is against, FBI
It is.
policy.
It
Hello.
is. They
Um,
don't
so,
care.
so I ended up getting a private attorney for the EEO, but I was using an
Okay.
agents association attorney for the OPR. Big mistake, but um,
Right.
hindsight's 2020. So my
Well, then
attorney,
we should mention to people,
yeah,
OPR is Office of Professional
professional,
Responsibility.
yes,
And if somebody lodges a complaint, some kind of misconduct or malfeasance against you, it would come through OPR and they would investigate you.
yeah,
Okay, so that's what they did. They filed a phony report on you, and OPR, the hammer of God,
yes,
then proceeds to attack you.
yeah,
So
and yell
there's
and
where we're
scream
at.
at me and
Yes,
everything.
that's what
I
they
mean, and
do.
wouldn't let me do anything. If I took a day off because I have diverticulosis, and I was in constant inflammation for an entire year and a half,
Hmm.
and my gastroenterologist put a reasonable accommodation in for me, and they came back with, "We don't know if you're disabled." I'm like, "My doctor wrote that up." She said, "The amount that I have had attacks is considered disability."
Right.
And I had to go to a lot of doctor's appointments, and they were refusing to let me go. And so, luckily, the health services department in the FBI stood up for me. But so they're
That was
trying to
good.
use this against me. They never gave me any reasonable accommodation. I got sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
And at the end of it all, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened during this, the
Right.
failing par and everything. I had one night with a deputy assistant director. I think it was New Year's Eve, and now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was she doing? She called me screaming at me. I was at my desk on New Year's Eve,
Hmm.
saying that I was in her system approving documents. I'm like, I don't even have access to that. So it came down to a year and a half of this OPR.
Hmm.
The EEO was proceeding, but it was taking forever. And I get a letter. I can't remember when it was, probably around August of 2013, that they are
Hmm.
proposing me for termination
Right.
for time and attendance, insubordination. And then I did make a mistake. I had someone that lied to me, and I sent them an email.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, he happened to be someone that these guys knew in the military, and so and I sent it to another colleague that knew him, but I made a mistake of sent it to him for on his uh, FBI email,
Okay.
and so they're holding that, going after me for that. Um, so they walk me out of the building, take everything
Hmm.
from me.
Yep. It's very embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm in shock because even
Yeah.
my attorney for my EEO was like, "No, that didn't just happen." I'm like, "Yes, it did." She's like, "What the
Yeah.
hell?"
And they're going for as much embarrassment as they can. They
And you,
strip you of everything, lock you out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then and let me ask you about this because this has been bothering me. And they brought it up in the deposition, but I thought it had been taken care of 12 years ago. When they gave me the letter from OPR,
Hmm.
I said I didn't agree with it, of course.
Hmm.
And then I left. I signed it, took it, and left. They gave me a copy. I get home and I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. My father's looking at
Hmm.
the letter and he goes, "Wait, what's this?" And it's like on the back of the letter has I used it says I used my FBI phone to exchange thousands of photos and obscene text messages or something like that. And I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
I said, well, for part of that time that you're looking at, I didn't even have a bureau issued phone. Mine fell in my coffee and they
Yeah.
refused to give me another one. So I'm like, wait a second.
Well,
So that was never ever brought up. But
yeah.
then I said, wait a second. And I looked at the letter and it said that I was in San Antonio. I said, okay. So I called my attorney. And she said, "Yeah, that must be a typo. That was never even mentioned.
Hmm.
I have no
Right.
knowledge of this." So she says, "I'll have that fixed. It's a typo." So she called me back. She goes, "It's going to be fixed. It shouldn't have been in there." Well, I go to my deposition just beginning of this week. Isn't that what they railed against me on?
Hmm.
And I'm like, have
And it's
no
still in
idea.
there. It's
It's
still
still
in
in
there.
there.
Oh, sure.
They changed the San Antonio to Washington D.C., but they didn't take out the other part.
Yeah. That's very typical.
Is it
Yes.
really?
Yes. Yes. It's very
Holy!
typical. It's hard to believe that the FBI would lie to you. But they do.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. I was at the arrest of Christopher Boyce. He was a spy
Hmm.
for the Russians, and I was there. It was in a book, and so there's no doubt about it. It's in a book written by somebody else. And the bureau had written in my termination papers that I had obviously grandiosity because I said I was there at the arrest and I wasn't. Well, it just so happened I had a letter from the Attorney General of the United States thanking me for what I did there. So, yeah, they lie.
Yeah.
And there is not much you can do because people would say, why would the Bureau lie?
That's what they
And
said. Yep.
yeah, that's
And
exactly what people
and
say. Well, why would the Bureau lie? That's a question that's a good question. Why would they? But the bottom line is they want to get rid of you.
yeah, they
So
want yeah.
they
And they
don't
wanna
care.
tarnish me too for the rest of my life, which is what they
Exactly.
did.
They're
Yeah.
going to grind you into the dust. I had, I mentioned previously to you a name of somebody who was assistant director. He came out to the jury trial that I had, which I was successful in. He perjured himself on the stand. I was sitting there and went into shock because
Yeah.
here is an assistant director of the FBI. He's lying under oath, and I could not believe it. But you'll have to get over that because it does happen.
Yeah, and they, the
It
whole
does
time and
happen.
attendance thing,
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out if I don't think they got all my time cards, first of all, because I was using an agency badge. And they said they
Right.
got my time cards, but when I talked to the guy that was access control, he said they have to actually we don't give those out. You have to actually view them.
Right.
And he said, so they didn't get that. That's not in there. And then when I went to my OPR interview, I showed emails. They were on the top secret thing. I didn't
Hmm.
show the content, but the address and time block that showed I was in the buildings when they said I wasn't. I'm like, I don't have a skiff at home. How
Yeah.
is that?
But now tell us, Robin, I have to, since we've gotten so deep into this, mine took 15 years to
Yeah.
resolve itself, and it took a jury trial
Okay.
because people actually had to see the evidence. Because, of course, the question is, why would the FBI lie? So you have to go to jury to show nonpartisan people, here's the evidence that they lied. And then they vote in your favor. That's why we're big on backing jury trials for whistleblowers because
Yeah.
they're extremely important. But tell people why this process has lasted so long for you. Is it 13 years now? 12,
It's about
13?
13. Yes.
Okay, tell
You
us
know,
why it has taken 13 years to resolve this. Well, it's not resolved. Why this is going on 13 years.
well, I did end up after that going to Congress, making some
Mhm.
protected disclosures with
Sure.
two other females. We were all GS-15s, and we were in Grassley's office probably for 6 or 7 hours.
That's Senator Grassley, who's
Yeah,
known
Senator
as
Grassley,
the patron saint
a
of
whistleblowers,
FBI whistleblower.
and
And so, yeah.
yeah. So we were there, and I showed them my background. I showed them articles on my
Mhm.
cases and everything, and then I went through what I had gone through, and then they went through what they had gone through, and it was a mirror image. So Senator Grassley became a big supporter of me, and
Yes.
he wrote to, and I shared a lot of stuff on Annie McCabe at that point.
Mhm.
But it was early on. Again, it was 2012, 2013. This is before all hell broke loose in the bureau. But I had seen um, him doing
How he
things that,
worked.
yeah,
Yeah,
how he
how he
worked.
had worked.
And I had warned them, and I said, to Grassley,
Mhm.
I'm like, I can give you. I had reported him on a security violation in 2008. Nothing happened to him. They just told him that I reported him. So that's how they handle it there. They
Yeah,
tell the person, and then you at that is probably where I first got my target. You and I
yeah,
discussed
on your
that.
back.
So
Right.
yeah, so then I made some. Um, I started getting a lot of people were calling me with really valuable information of what was going on in the bureau,
Mhm.
and some of it was like a duty to warn. Like I had to
Right.
call Inspector General's office, or I had to call Grassley's office, and I ended up talking a lot to Congressman Devin Nunez's office quite a bit
Mhm.
because he was really interested in some of the stuff that I had on that I'd given them on McCabe, and some of it was research, some of it was other people just calling me.
Mhm.
I say human sources, but they were FBI people. Some on the seventh floor.
Was and we should people we throw these things out and the general audience probably doesn't realize it, but the 7th floor is where the director resides
Yeah,
at FBI HQ. So when you say 7th floor, that's where all the biggies are.
yeah, the
All the
biggies
biggies
are.
plus the director. So I have to ask you,
So,
why has it taken 13 years? So
They have
far.
been stonewalling. During my formal EEO in front of an administrative judge, my report of investigation that they did on my EEO. Now we should also make sure people know that the FBI investigates itself on everything,
Mhm,
wrongdoing, anything.
mhm,
So they did my EEO.
mhm.
They blacked out of like 450 pages, I'd say 420. They blacked
Mhm.
out,
Right,
including my affidavit of what I had put together, a chronological order of what happened to me.
right.
So I go before the court and I get that report and I say, I don't know what we're talking about in this court hearing.
Mhm.
My claims are not even there. So I filed, this is what did it. I filed an amended complaint.
Okay.
And then eventually I sent that amended complaint to my first attorney and she goes, "That's your original affidavit just to start the investigation." I said, "I thought it was, but you forget after 6 years or whatever how long it
Oh, yeah.
takes." So that's why it's taken so long. They've been fighting me saying I didn't exhaust all the administrative remedies.
Yes.
And I'm like, "But I have emails where I'm sending this to EEO. I have this complaint that I sent to the EEO investigator to start the investigation. I
Right.
exhausted, but they're still, so that's what's taken so long because they must have. I was looking at it yesterday. There were so many requests for extensions, motions to dismiss. Now you know this. The motion to
I do.
dismiss, they just keep refiling the same exact
Mhm,
thing. They just change a little bit.
mhm.
And once you beat the motions to dismiss, you're on your way to trial. Now, the judge so far has ruled in my favor on constructive discharge. And this is okay. You know
Mhm.
what? Step back. I was in the EEO system. After a while, we saw that it was futile. We didn't even know what everything. They weren't going to give us the
Right.
unredacted. My attorney that I had gotten then died. I had
Yeah.
paid him in full. So now I have to find another attorney. At the
Right.
same time, I'm sitting in a hospital bed, mysteriously bleeding internally.
Yeah.
And I have a gastroenterologist who's looking at me going, "What am I dealing with here?
Yeah.
Your blood work's a mess." So I'm like, okay, this is freaking me out. So I was actually going to walk away. That must have been in like 2019, 18 or 19. I was like, I
Mhm.
can't do this anymore. And that's
Right.
the
It's
majority of
killing you.
whistleblowers do.
It's killing me.
And
Yeah.
now, by the way, now I'd already filed a Hatch Act complaint against Andy McCabe. If people remember in the news, his wife was running for an office in
Mhm.
Virginia, and she got about 800,000 from Terry McAuliffe, who was the governor of Virginia and also basically a surrogate for um, Hillary Clinton.
So you filed this Hatch Act
Yeah,
violation
yeah,
against Andy McCabe.
and it makes it to the news, so I get interviewed by like Catherine Herridge, all these other people that
Mhm.
I'm on Fox News and all that stuff. And all I'm saying is the bureau is supposed to be apolitical. We're not supposed to be
Mhm.
political. And so one of the people I was working with, that is hold on a second. I just spilled something. One okay, so I see this all going down, and I talked to actually it was John Solomon and Sarah Carter, and they did a bunch of FOIAs in
They're at the
relation to the.
Post, right? Aren't they at the Post?
No, they I think Sarah's now
But I mean back then.
he was with The Hill and she was with Circa and then she went to
Okay.
Fox News.
So they
Um
started
yeah.
investigating.
Yeah, they started looking into it and I said, let me have some of the stuff because it may actually, be stuff that I
Mhm.
have to include in my complaint. So I found we found that he was using his email for his wife's campaign. We found out that he said he went out there for I think coffee when he actually, according to the governor's notes and his schedule, he spent the day with them at um, uh, like it's the area. It's like a conference for the Democrats every year in the area. And as a deputy director, you should not be attending things like that, especially when Terry McAuliffe was under investigation. So he was over Terry McAuliffe, he was over the Clintons, he was over a lot of that stuff. And so
The
I saw that,
cases. He was
yeah,
over the cases.
yeah. And so I'm like,
Okay.
this is a conflict of interest, and this is something that you should not do. And anyone else would get jammed up. So I'm like, I'm not in the bureau anymore, and I think this should be reported. So I reported to Office of Special Counsel, which is
Mhm.
over the whistleblower stuff. And they look into it and they ask me, why are you just reporting this now? And I said, well, I thought it would have been reported. I thought I was going to give some additional information. They said, no. I said, this should have been reported because OPR knows about it and they didn't report it. See the disparate treatment.
Yeah.
So
Oh, of
it's
course.
incredible. And so that
That's
becomes
always been true of the executives in the bureau. They've gotten away with murder.
oh God,
But the brick agents, get jammed up.
yes. They go into full investigation in Annie McCabe. I don't know how much they did because
Hmm.
he got fired, so they closed the case. They said, if he gets back into federal service, we'll reopen. He did. He got settled with. He got back in. They never reopened it. Later, it was
Wow.
found out that Office of Special Counsel, there was someone high ranking in there that was pushing out a lot of complaints and not actually investigating them, just saying they were unsubstantiated. I
Right.
saw that in the news. So that's one thing. And then talking to Devin Nunes and Senator Grassley, they said you are a whistleblower. And so the FBI at the time, you had to like practically do I don't know, uh, running, pike jump, this that backflip in order to become a whistleblower. You had to
Hmm.
like really. I mean, I don't know how often they did that. Usually DOJ would, but people lied. So when I went to Grassley, I showed him,
Hmm.
not him, but his office, and
Sure.
with Devin Nunes. And then Senator Ron Johnson as well. This is the information I have, and you can have this. This is solid evidence. So that goes on, and at the same time, they're still doing motions to dismiss and extension requests in the court.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
at that point, we decided we're just going to go federal. So we
Hmm.
file in federal court. I can't remember what year it was. And then that, with the amended complaint, that became now the focus for this side. I mean, it's the same
Right.
damn attorneys, but so then they start rebutting that. I must have done, I don't know, 6 or 7 rebuttals to theirs. Um,
Right.
and so some things they actually won out on, but we got the constructive discharge and the hostile work environment, which my attorney said was, that's what we need, Rob. We need that.
Hmm.
I said, yeah. He goes, all the rest of it plays into showing the pattern of this that caused you to leave, and it was hostile. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
where we are now. I've I've been homeless twice. I
Because of
have
the attorney fees. The attorney fees.
no. When I first got out, they blocked my unemployment.
Oh, they blackballed you.
Yeah, they blackballed me. So
Oh,
if I tried to
typical.
if I
Typical.
tried to put in for a job, forget it. I had one job that
Mm.
I'm going to see if I can get in touch with these people too, for court. They at a major corporation, they were interviewing me and they were gonna offer to me the director of global security, director of global
Mhm.
security. And I was shocked, but I had gone through 3 interviews, and I'm like, okay, this is actually going to
Mhm.
be good because I don't have any
Mhm.
money, but this will help me get back on my feet.
Right.
So I'm on my way to drive back there to discuss the terms and all that stuff, and the recruiter calls me and says, "No, they're not going to hire you now." And she goes, I'll never go on record." She goes, "But someone from the bureau called."
Yeah, blackballed you.
Yeah, and it happened
Typical.
several more times.
Yeah, it's
Include,
very, very typical. It's happened to all FBI whistleblowers. But now you have a GoFundMe
yeah.
that is trying to help you.
Yeah,
Be-
I had 2. I had one before, and for some reason, GoFundMe shut it down. And people were, I mean, it's tough when you've always been okay with how you can support yourself. So
Sure.
it's tough to ask for money.
But tell us what your GoFundMe is right now, which is viable, where
Yeah,
people can maybe contribute if they want.
if you
What's
go
the
into
name of it?
GoFundMe and you look up Robyn, Robyn, and then last name is Gritz, Gritz, it does come up as Robyn Gritz, FBI whistleblower. Um, and you'll see if it's active or not. That one has around 8,000 in it or something like that, um, which helped me
Yes.
tremendously.
Yes.
And people are like, "Well, did you go buy that car from there?" I said, I bought a used car and I was working, so I was paying for it. But this is to help you get back on your feet, not
Oh yeah.
just to for legal fees and stuff like that. Um, but this is to get help you get on your feet.
Oh yeah.
And
Whistleblowers devastating. It's
Yeah.
devastating.
And
But
anywhere
now,
you go, you're gonna
yeah,
get knocked down. I mean, I've had jobs where I've been at, and then all of a sudden, I knew something was up, and there's someone there that is friends with Annie McCabe or something like that. What one it
mhm,
was, and next thing you know, they're
mhm,
trying to push me out again. But I'd already secured a job in Texas. I was the senior advisor on human trafficking to Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission. So it's not like I deteriorated so
right,
bad by the time they had to file the EAP and OPR against me. I'm still performing, and I knew they were going to try and do a fit for duty, so I
oh
went and
yeah,
had my own psychiatric done. And that psychiatrist came back. He's from Georgetown, and he's an expert witness for DOD. Yeah, I know the game, man. I've been there
mhm,
16 years by this
mhm,
time.
mhm,
So I am like, okay, so I'll have that done. And he wrote a letter basically saying she's high performing. The only
mhm,
thing that I would say is a situational depression, which is adjustment disorder.
yeah, yeah,
He goes, and that's actually benign. They're making a big deal of that right now.
yeah, yeah,
And then he
no,
said to me, and he said, I want to put this in here. He goes, the only thing she has is the stress related to what is being done to her. So,
right.
they didn't do a fit for duty after that. I was like,
Oh,
go
that
ahead,
was
bring it.
good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I like to preempt the strike sometimes.
No, that was good. I did the same thing, but they continued anyhow.
Yeah. And then over the last few years, I sent out FOIA requests to the FBI to get my personnel file and all these other
Mhm,
things. And it took 6 years to get me one document. I mean, and then
yeah,
they ended up sending me discs later. So I feel it was odd that when I was in my deposition, the assistant U.S. attorney saying, you need to be careful about sensitive documents you still have. We have to review those. I said, if they're so sensitive, why would I have gotten them via FOIA? And she goes,
exactly.
she goes, you issued a FOIA? I'm
Yeah,
like, God, like
yeah,
7, 8 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Girl, it's
It's
been
all
12
okay.
years.
They send
Yeah.
them to you, it's all okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you're still in the arena, you're
Yes.
still fighting,
Yes.
you have no intention of backing down,
No.
you're gonna be standing on your feet, and you're not gonna be on your knees,
Thank
and
God I
so
have you guys. Thank
and
God I
that's
have you and Frederick and Tracy have been so I mean, I was devastated this week. You guys sent me messages that,
yeah.
I was just devastated, you know.
I'm sorry, but that's what makes you a hero. It's your integrity, it's the courage. You are continuing on a terrible injustice. And so, congratulations, you're a hero. And you have to say that to yourself every day you get up. I am a hero because you are. And I want to stress that whistleblowers are heroes. They have done the best that they can to grind you into the dust, Robin. You are
Yes.
standing tall.
Yep.
And that's a miracle in itself.
Yep.
I just congratulate you.
Yeah, it's been tough, but you know what?
Oh, it's
I am
tough.
so much stronger than they think that, I was weak.
Mhm. Mhm.
They have no idea. I'm so much stronger
Exactly.
now. Um, it was devastating when I left. I mean, I went through severe depression.
Yep.
And luckily I have my faith and my family and my friends,
Mhm. Exactly.
but yeah, it's, a lot of these people, I mean, you see people second guessing these whistleblowers, even on X and
Mhm.
everything. I'm like, you need to understand, we were there. You
Mhm.
are making your judgment from a point of ignorance. We were
Right.
there.
That's
And
right.
over the years, I've talked to people uh, I had a Secret Service woman that was eligible to retire. This was starting against her. I said, put your papers in, get out, get your pension, get out. I said,
Mhm.
and then handle it. Just, they're going to grind you. Don't let them
They're
do it
gonna
while you're
grind
there.
you.
And
Yeah.
she ended up, we know what's funny. She retired and she met the love of her life and got married.
There you
So,
go. And you're
see,
working in AI now,
yes, I
and
am.
you have a chance to win this. And so I just think it's wonderful. You're standing tall.
Thank you.
Is there any last words you'd like to give to our audience, Robin? Because you have survived.
The one thing is what I say every time I either do an interview is whistleblowers need to realize they're not alone, and you are
Mhm.
made to feel alone by design.
Mhm.
I mean, when I've heard about your case, and then I got in touch with you because I was like, this is
Mhm.
this is the same thing.
Same thing.
So I would like to say thank you to all the whistleblowers out there that are true patriots and are true good
Mhm.
people that just want to see the right thing be done. and don't want to
That's
see
right.
people, manhandled or treated poorly. I don't put
Mhm.
up with that. I said at the beginning I was a protector. That's kind of why we went into
That's
law
who you
enforcement,
are. Yeah,
and I
that's
am.
who you are.
Yeah. So I have a few witnesses that they were had the same thing happen to that. Well, they were
Mhm.
targeted by the same people
Mhm.
in different places. So it's a pattern. So I would say to whistleblowers, document everything,
Oh.
write down everything, keep the dates. And, one thing that might be really big for me was when I met with that SES and we discussed
Mhm.
me not going to those 715s. I didn't send anything to him, and so DOJ is trying to fight me on that. But I sent it to three detailees, and I said, I just want to make sure I got timestamp on it. And that's
Good.
really important. Take it from an FBI agent. You need timestamps, you need documents.
Mhm.
And the
Documents.
other thing is, I've had to, now that I'm living with my parents, but I'm working a good job, is take care of myself. Is to go and
Yes.
get a massage. I'm getting a facial next week.
Yes.
Um,
And if you
really,
need therapy, Robin, I tell
ex.
whistleblowers,
Oh,
if you need therapy, go get it.
yes, yes.
You've got to be able to, put yourself back together again after being absolutely beaten so bad.
And you see a lot of, there's a high suicide rate with whistleblowers,
Mhm.
and just about most of the FBI whistleblowers that I've talked to, I was like the rare one. They had all attempted suicide. So my
Yeah.
big thing, when I was gonna drop my case, there was a female agent that shot herself in the parking lot of a court hearing, and
Oh,
I had heard that she was young. She was like 30 something, new mother. I had heard she had been being targeted. So at that point, I said, you know what? Game on. I
yeah.
can't see this happening anymore. So
Yeah.
whistleblowers out there and people that want to support whistleblowers, um, it's important to support them, and even
Mhm.
$10 helps them. If
That's
it's
right.
not me, it's someone else. But know that they take away just about any ability to get a job. And the only way I've gotten hired for jobs is by people I know. And I've
That's
I've
right.
heard that from attorneys. I've heard that from other whistleblowers. So know that we're not making it up that we can't get a job. We're able-bodied and we want to work.
Mhm.
That's
That's
our
right.
that's our work ethic. But so if you want to support us, really, when you see us put a message out or you see us do an interview, share it, put it out there,
Exactly.
get it out there.
Exactly.
And if you see someone that's going through this, be their friend, help
Be
them
their
out.
friend.
Be their friend. I had some people that were quietly and they'd just wink at me. One person,
Mhm.
I'll just share this and then I'll be done
Yeah.
with this. But one person, they saw that Annie McCabe would start eliminating me from meeting invites, and then they would
Mhm.
send me the invite. I'd show up, and at that point, I said,
What difference does it
"What
make?
does it make?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a corrupt SOB."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they ended my career. The other day, what I said to the AUSA, she asked me how this impacted me, and I went through a pretty long
Mhm.
explanation. And then I said, I used to be happy.
Yeah.
I'm no longer happy. They took that from me.
They took
And
it from you.
she looked like she was about to cry.
Yeah.
And it was Zoom. And she just said, I need 10 minutes. And then she shut it off. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, ooh. But you know what? She came back like a lion. So I
Yeah.
gotta say she's a strong woman. I will
Well,
respect that. But
yes.
she's facilitating,
Yes. The system.
retaliation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Retaliation.
Yeah, she's facilitating it. So DOJ is just as so whistleblowers out there, you are not alone.
That's right.
Please.
Will we see you at National Whistleblower Day on July 30th in Washington, D.C. this year?
July 30th? I
Yep.
always find out after, so it's good that I
Well, I'm going to give you a heads up, and everybody in our audience, National Whistleblower Day is taking place in Washington, D.C. at the Senate building,
at the
and
Senate.
Senator Grassley is going to be there,
Oh, I'd love to
as
see him.
is Senator Wyden. Two
Really?
whistleblower supporters. Yes, they'll be speaking, and you'll be able to meet him, Senator
Okay.
Grassley, and say thanks or whatever you want to say.
Or can you still help me? Because
Yeah, yeah.
he asked. This is one thing that you have to understand what Grassley's up against, and I think you know this, but
Oh,
the
oh, I do.
watcher, the audience may not. He has issued so many letters to the Inspector General's office and
Oh,
the
yeah.
FBI, and he even confronted Director Comey on
Yep.
live TV about my case. No response.
Yeah.
The OIG said they were going to look into it, and
No
they did.
respect. He gets no respect. They make fun of him, people
Yes,
in the FBI, but you know what? He's head of the judiciary now,
yeah.
and so watch out. Yeah,
And then there is this one
he'll
thing.
be there. He'll be there though.
If you want to see what's happening to women in the DOJ components and compare to what you happened to you, is the Office of Inspector General did a report,
Uh-huh.
and it is called "Review of Gender Equality in the Department's Law Enforcement components." This stemmed from our visit to Grassley's office, and if
Wonderful.
you read through it, the same things that's happening to us are what they're mentioning they're afraid of, and why they won't file an EEO. And my name
Yes,
is still invoked in the FBI. You don't want to end up what happened to Robyn Gritz.
that's right.
Yeah.
Robyn, you're a hero. Never
Thank you.
forget that. If anybody wants to contribute to Robyn, she has a GoFundMe, and it's under her name. If you wish to contribute to Whistleblower Network News, please just give a few dollars for these wonderful podcasts that we do. And Robyn, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
much luck and success to you. But you know what? You're a hero, and no one is ever going to take that away.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find more whistleblower stories at whistleblowersblog.org. Music by Rachel Kilgore, guest booking by Victoria Thompson, and editing by Anissa Cheek. Whistleblower of the Week is a production of Whistleblower Network News. The views expressed by podcast guests are their own and not those of Whistleblower Network News.